Once upon a time in the heart of Ghana, there lived a beautiful female warrior. She was the best of her time. Her confidence is alarming and her beauty knows no bounds. Tara was her name, a strong black young woman, who her father wants her to marry the king for her village, to gain protection and resource. Her father the village chieftain who wants nothing but honor and wealth. I want you to challenge the king to a fight, he said. Why should I? Tara replied. So you can marry him and save our village. You are not being serious right now, father. Of course I am. Look, when you challenge him to a war, and you win, then he ends up marrying you. That will make me an in-law to the king, and that makes us royalty. What? Old man, can you listen to yourself? Oh, comment on Tara. Okay, let's put this way. How about you do it to save our village and secure the future of our children? Tara stood at the edge of the cliff, confused, thinking about what her father has said. She knows that her father's concern was about the honor and wealth he will gain if she ends up as the king's wife, and that is something she hated, her father's selfish behavior. However, she equally knows the village needs help. The sun setting behind her cast a fiery glow over the land spread out below, a land in desperate need of saving. The village was indeed suffering under the tyrannical rule of King Zareb, who herded the natural resources for himself, leaving the villagers impoverished and on the brink of ruin. Tara knew that she was the only one who could stand up to the king and challenge him to a war to bring justice to her people and reclaim their rightful resources. So she decides to forget about her father's selfish behavior and save her village from the hands of the tyrant king. On a fateful day, as Tara made her way through the bustling market square, a fairy village her home, the air heavy with the scent of spices and sweet, she overheard a group of villagers whispering fearfully about King Zareb's latest decree. The king had demanded that he would marry any woman who could defeat his best warriors in combat, claiming that this would prove her worthy to be his queen, and her village would be granted access to the bountiful resources they so desperately needed. Tara's blood ran cold at the injustice, knowing fully well as me the demand, thinking that nobody will able to challenge his warriors and him. She realizes that she had no other choice but to accept the challenge and face the king in battle. Over the next few weeks, she worked tirelessly with her warriors, pushing their limits and honing their skills. The once quiet training grounds echoed with the clash of steel and this grunt of exertion as they practiced day and night. Tara's determination was infectious. Her people saw the fiery spirit in her eyes and felt the weight of her conviction.
Hello lovelies, welcome to my channel. It's Tale by Ruthie, #AbbasBaby. For more interesting and educating story, do well to like, subscribe and share, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you will be notified when next we drop new story. God bless you. Stay safe. Love you.
As the day of the challenge grew near, whispers of her bravery spread throughout the neighboring lands. Some spoke of her awe, while others laughed at the audacity of a mere girl daring to stand against a seasoned king. Yet Tara paid no heed to the chatter. She knew that battlefield was where her true voice would be heard. In the midst of the brutal war between Tara and the king's warriors, just when victory seemed within reach, a sudden plot twist shattered her hopes. The king revealed that he had no intention of honoring his promises, and even if she defeated all his warriors, he would never allow her marry him. Tara was faced with the harsh realization that the stakes were higher than she had imagined, and the king's deception only fueled her determination to bring him down and free her village from his oppression. She raised from the dust with the furnace of anger. She moved with her sword closer to him, and she looked at his face for the first time. She was amazed with what she saw. Cause she was expecting to see a monster, but what she saw was opposite. For a moment she was lost, or they were lost, gazing at each other. She flogged herself to reality. She spoke when she found her voice. How dare you, Zareb? Who do you think you are? Her voice carrying across the now still field. He looked at her dumbfounded. No one had ever stood before him. Talk more of saying a word. No one up till this moment, and the person had to be her. Not only had she challenged him to a fight, she looked him in the eyes and uttered a word. Words of insult with no fear or whatever soever. He left angrily in his palace. He couldn't Stop thinking about her. He tried to forget her, but he couldn't. What is wrong with me? Why is my heart beating fast at the mention of her name at night? The king could not sleep. He wake up with the thought of her. She is very beautiful despite the blood stains on her face and body. Her boldness was something else. Well, I have to wait. And what she will do next, he said to himself with a smile, as Tara continued to defy the king and his ruthless enforcers. The pressure mounted against her, with the kingdom's forces closing in on Afari with greater ferocity. Betrayed by some of her own people, who had succumbed to the king's feared tactics and faced with a formidable army at her doorstep, Tara found herself outnumbered and outmatched. The village was soon under siege, with the king's soldiers laying waste to everything in their path, and time was running out for Tara to fulfill her quest. The king sent her a letter. Tara, the untouchable flame. What I admire your courage. Come to my palace, I want to have a word with you. The letter with anger, she tore the paper into pieces and matched on it. In the darkest hour, Tara stood amidst the ruins of her village, the acrid smell of smoke and the sounds of anguish cries filling the air. She had failed to protect, and the dream of marrying the king to save them seemed like a cruel joke. Defeated and broken, Tara sank to her knees, the weight of her failures crushing her spirit. It felt like there was no hope left, no way to overcome the overwhelming power of the king and his army. Through the haze of despair, a glimmer of realization sparked within Tara's heart. She remembered the words of wisdom from the elders of her village, the teachings of courage and resilience that had guided her on her journey. She understood that true power came not from the blade of a sword, but from the strength of her convictions and the love she bore her people. With a newfound resolve coursing through her veins, Tara rose from the ashes, her eyes ablaze with determination, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Then she picked up the letter she had torn and headed straight to the palace. Standing on the palace wall, she overheard the chiefs discussing how they need a wife and an heir. Now is the time to take a move, seeing that the king is now distracted. Gathering the remaining loyal warriors and the villagers, who still stood by her side, Tara devised a daring plan to confront the king and his army in the final, decisive battle. With cunning tactics and unwavering bravery, she led her forces into the heart of the conflict, facing down the tyrannical ruler and his minions with a courage born of righteousness and love for her people. In a climactic showdown, Tara's skill and valor proved greater than any sword or army, as she defeated the king and his forces, securing the freedom and resources of Afari once and for all. As the dust settled and the cheers of the victorious villagers filled the air, Tara stood tall, a beacon of hope and inspiration to all who had saved her village, proving her worth not through her marriage to a king, but through her acts of heroism and selfless sacrifice. Tara's legend would live on through the ages, a testament to the power of a warrior's heart and the enduring spirit of a true hero. Few years later, the king asked for hand in marriage, not like a challenge, but in a beautiful way, which she accepted and became his wife. Few months after the marriage, the king held her hand and led her to the palace, where she was crowned queen with her pregnant. You beautiful, my queen, smile. I never thought a day like this will come, where you will the one carrying my heir. She smiled. The ways of God is not the way of men. What God says will be will surely be. I love you, my queen. Moral of the story: failures is when you give up, so friends never give up. You are enough. You here in this world, in that family, in that job, for such a time as these. Remember, what God cannot do does not exist.